What's something people don't know about the most trusted priest in a small Philippine town? He became the country's first documented serial killer, murdering 57 people, all to save his mother. The old church in Magalang stands against the tropical sky, its stones heavy with centuries of secrets. Inside, the air is thick with the scent of old wood and melting wax, history you can almost feel pressing in. Sunlight struggles through narrow windows, slicing the dust, illuminating shadows that seem to whisper. This was the world of Father Juan Severino Mallari, a trusted priest in the early 1800s. The people brought him their hopes and fears, never suspecting the true danger stood before them. A man trusted, respected, and convinced he was doing right, but the line between faith and fanaticism is thin. Father Mallari would cross it again and again. The church's stones have tried to forget, but the whispers remain. The story of Father Mallari is a warning. Sometimes the greatest darkness hides in the light. Juan Severino Mallari was among the first native-born Filipino priests, a rare achievement in a church ruled by Spanish friars. Educated at the University of Santo Tomas, he was intelligent, articulate, and a symbol of Filipino potential. When he became parish priest of Magalang in 1816, the community embraced him as one of their own. He spoke their language, understood their customs, and became a source of pride. His sermons moved people, his presence was steady and reassuring. He baptized, married, and buried his flock, embodying the devoted servant of God. People sought his counsel for everything, trusting him completely. No one suspected the turmoil beneath his calm exterior. Mallari played his part perfectly, but behind the respected priest, a different man was emerging. He was solitary, spending long hours in study, not just theology, but obscure, forbidden subjects. His devotion to his mother, once a virtue, became an obsession. This single-minded focus would consume him and those around him. His intelligence, once a gift, was turning toward darkness. Mallari's story reminds us darkness can wear the face of a friend, a neighbor, even a spiritual guide. He was the ultimate insider, holding absolute trust. That trust became his greatest weapon, allowing him to move without suspicion. The people of Magalang opened their doors and souls to him, never knowing they were inviting in a predator. Sometimes the most dangerous evil is the one we never see coming. Mallari's mask of faith hid a mind unraveling in secret, and soon that secret would spill out into the open. The tragedy began with Mallari's mother falling mysteriously ill. Doctors were baffled, some whispered she was bewitched, a victim of Kulam folk magic. In a world where science and superstition blurred, this seemed plausible. Watching his mother suffer, Mallari felt powerless. His prayers went unanswered, and desperation took hold. He turned to forbidden texts, searching for answers beyond the Bible. His logical mind twisted. If God wouldn't cure her, maybe darker forces could. He convinced himself his mother was cursed, and only a blood sacrifice could save her. It was a warped blend of Catholic faith and pagan belief. In his mind, murder became medicine. This wasn't a sudden snap, but a slow descent into obsession. Each life he took, he believed, might break the curse. When his mother didn't improve, he reasoned the sacrifice wasn't enough. He needed to kill again. The logic was insane, but to him it was clear. He became a self-appointed executioner, waging war against a phantom curse. Every thought, every action was dedicated to this gruesome goal. He was no longer just a priest or a son. He was lost to madness. The line between love and horror had vanished, and the killing had only just begun. The killings began, calculated, not random. Mallari chose victims carefully, the poor, the transient, the overlooked. He used his priestly position to lure them, his knowledge of the town making him a perfect predator. Disappearances were dismissed as misfortune. No one suspected the priest. Forensic science was non-existent, investigations rudimentary. The idea of a priest as a killer was unthinkable. The community prayed for protection in Mallari's church, never knowing the danger was within. He worked alone, shrouded by night and reputation. Details of the murders are lost to history, adding to the horror. 57 lives were taken one by one over years. The lack of suspicion is chilling, a testament to the power and trust given to priests. Mallari comforted grieving families, all the while knowing he was the cause. He lived two lives, seamlessly shifting between shepherd and wolf. The psychological duality is terrifying. No one saw the seam that joined his two worlds. The sanctuary had become a slaughterhouse, and the town of Magalang was trapped in a nightmare it couldn't see. The shadows hid a truth too monstrous to imagine. Mallari's end came not from clever detectives, but from his own confession. The details of his capture are murky. Some say bodies were found, others that his behavior grew erratic. Eventually, the Spanish authorities arrested him. The community was stunned. Their trusted priest was now a suspect. Then came his confession, calm, detailed, methodical. He explained his mother's illness, his belief in a curse, and the murders he committed to break it. In his mind, he was a tragic hero, sacrificing for love. The authorities were shocked. His motive was beyond comprehension. This was not passion or greed, but a crime born of twisted ideology. Mallari's diary and confession left no doubt of his guilt. The revelation shattered Magalang's faith in their priest and their church. Their sanctuary had been a slaughterhouse, their shepherd, the wolf. The trial was swift, the verdict inevitable. Father Juan Severino Mallari was found guilty of 57 murders. The shockwaves rippled through the Philippines. The betrayal was profound, the trust forever broken. The man of God had become the nation's first documented serial killer. The truth could no longer be hidden. The nightmare was finally exposed. Mallari was sentenced to death and hanged on July 5, 1840. His execution was a public spectacle, but for the church and colonial authorities, it was a source of deep shame. A native priest, once a symbol of hope, had become a national scandal. The response was swift: erase him from history. Church records vanished, government documents were buried. The goal was to protect the clergy's reputation and prevent panic. Magalang was even relocated, distancing the community from its trauma. For over a century, Mallari's story survived only as a whisper. Local folklore, a ghost story. It was not taught in schools, not found in textbooks. The erasure was nearly complete. The silence was as deliberate as the crimes themselves. History was rewritten by those in power. The story of the priest who killed 57 was buried, almost forever, but some truths refused to stay hidden. Only in recent decades did Mallari's story resurface. Historians uncovered court records and psychiatric evaluations long hidden. The Spanish authorities had even ordered a psychological assessment, remarkable for the time. Mallari was diagnosed with psychosis, lost in delusion. Today, we might call it schizophrenia or obsessive-compulsive disorder with psychotic features. His intelligence and methodical nature fit the profile of organized serial killers. He wasn't just evil. He was profoundly mentally ill. His beliefs fused Catholic sacrifice with folk magic, creating a deadly ideology. Mallari's illness found expression in the culture around him. This re-examination forces us to see the man behind the monster. It doesn't excuse his actions, but it explains them. The institutions around him failed to see the signs until it was too late. Mallari was a man crying out for help in the most tragic way imaginable. For decades, Mallari's story haunted the margins of history. Dr. Luciano P.R. Santiago's research in Manila and Spain unearthed the original court documents and psychiatric reports. His work gave voice to the 57 forgotten victims. The case's obscurity shows how effective the cover-up was and how reluctant the Philippines was to confront its darker past. National histories prefer heroes, not murderous priests. For years, it was easier to let Mallari remain a ghost. The internet changed that, spreading his story worldwide. True crime podcasts and blogs revived interest, but risked turning tragedy into entertainment. Mallari's rediscovery reminds us history is alive, always being revised. What was hidden can be found, what was forgotten can be remembered. The Spectre has stepped into the open, forcing a conversation the authorities tried to silence. We must ask why this story was hidden, and what it means for us today. The past, no matter how dark, always finds a way back to the light. What is Mallari's legacy? Monster, madman, or anomaly? He was all of these. His story warns of the dangers of unchecked authority and fanatic faith. It shows how love, twisted, can justify cruelty. Evil can hide behind the most trusted masks. Remembering Mallari is about honoring his 57 victims whose stories were nearly erased. History should be truthful, not comforting myth. Confronting this darkness is a sign of maturity for a nation. The Mallari case sparks vital discussions about mental health, religion, and power. It's not about blame, but about learning from tragedy. Forgetting him would be the final victory of those who tried to silence the truth. Remembering ensures that the whispers in Magalang's old church are finally heard and the lost souls are not forgotten.